Grand rising, grand arrival, grand return. Peace and blessings to the righteous and the repentant alike. I am Chief Sophia of the Americana Band of Indians, and this is our invocation or introduction or explanation of our upcoming fast. Now, we did a feast that started May 18th, which was a feast for favor or forgiveness or something. This is starting out well, but now we're getting ready to do fast. So in our people, we always did feasts and fasts. So the feasts were to celebrate the blessings, and the fasts were to consecrate us for the next set of blessings. And so that's the purpose of the fast. Now, I have lots of videos on fasting. I think I'm just going to make a playlist and put it in the description on all our prior fasts, so that I'm not going to rehash like the Ruth and Naomi fast. I'm going to add on to it, but if you haven't seen the original video for the Ruth and Naomi fast, I suggest you go and watch that. If you have seen it, because you've done that fast with us for 2 years now, it might be time to refresh yourself and watch it again. So it'll be on the playlist in the description. But we are going to fast starting on the cross quarter holiday, which is August the 2nd through the Libra equilux, actually. It's August the 2nd through the Libra equilux. That's the entire duration of the fast. You do not have to fast for that entire time. You do not have to participate for that entire time. But I am telling you, that's the entire duration from the from August the 2nd, which is the cross quarter holiday, to the Libra equilux. That's the fast. This fast at this time is always the Ruth and Naomi fast, which is the fast for favor. This is where we ask the Creator, the Air Kadeshi, the Dare Kadesh, everybody in the spirit realm to look at us for who we are and our energy and evaluate us and determine if we need, if we are acceptable for the blessings that we're asking for. Because let's talk about how these people have been copying our energy. I have long been saying that there are people in our energy that we don't know. Now I have figured out how they do it. This has to do with the fact that the roots of the tree do not connect to grafted in branches. Let me say that one more time. The roots of the tree, like if you have a tree that's growing out and you graft in a branch, the roots do not connect to the branches. The roots feed the branches. They get the branches the nutrients and the water and all the stuff that the roots are taking in. But the actual branches do not really connect to the roots. They're just connected to the tree. They don't contribute to the roots. So what I mean by that is, if in a tree, the water goes both ways. The leaves take in water and the roots bring up water. So the tree is like a pump, actually. It's like our heart, which is not a pump, but a vortex. But anyway, the point of the matter is the tree imitates that, okay? The tree imitates that. And so if you have water, nutrients coming to a branch of the tree, that is not being contributed to the root system. Okay, so this is how you can have people who claim to be us, and the roots of the tree, which is the spirit realm, can't tell that it's not really us, because the information coming from the branches does not connect to the roots in the ground. Jesus told a parable about this. He said, I am the vine and my Father is the vine dresser. Okay, so what we need the vine dresser to do is to cut off the branches. And it says this in Romans. Paul tells them, listen, don't talk about the natural branches, okay? The ones that are actually connected to the root system. Leave the natural branches alone, which they think is the professional victims unit. Leave the natural branches alone, and you just do what you got to do absent of the natural branches, okay? They don't understand that the natural branches are us. We are the humans that were born male and female. He created them on day 6. The day 8 humans are the ones who incarnated. The day 6 humans were created. We are made from light. But the incarnated humans came on day 8. So we're both humans. There's no, again, I have mentioned this a billion times. If you have one drop of humanity, you're a human, okay? It's a one drop rule. That was 100% accurate. If you're connected to the tree, it's a one drop rule. You're connected to the tree. But in order to incarnate, okay, you have to come through branches. Now, there's natural branches and then there's grafted in branches. But from the top of the tree, you can't tell what's going on. You can only see if the tree produces different fruit. So let me give an example of this. And I'm going to be checking my incense throughout this. When I was at home, I had a huge garden. And I would always go to the nursery. And they had at the nursery a tree that was called a fruit cocktail tree. And this tree grew apples, oranges, pears, lemons, cherries, all this stuff on one tree. And I was like, how are they growing all of this stuff on this one tree? And my old man told me, they grafted it in. So I have that in my mind that's how it's done. And he told me how it's done and showed me videos. And so I got a huge education in the grafting process. And so I've, just been holding on to that information. So when I read the scripture in Paul which is in one of my other videos, where I talk about the branches being grafted in, it immediately triggered this memory where I didn't realize that if you have a tree that has apples grafted into it, like you just graft on a branch of apples. Well, I didn't realize that the branch that was grafted in doesn't actually connect to the roots. The tree feeds the apple branch as if it's the natural branch, right, of the tree, but actually it's not natural because this is a cherry tree and they pick fast growing trees because there's some trees that just grow faster than others. And they literally to me, it's an abomination, but this is what they do. So when I was reading that scripture and it was talking about the natural branches versus the wild branches, it made me think, okay, how do they always refer to our brother, our sister? How do they always refer to these different energies? Well, they call them wild. They call Jesus a wild man because he was trying to help the people be saved. And that was outside of how Jewish culture wanted them to engage with the people, and so they call Jesus a madman, really. And so that's the wild branches. The wild branches is the male and female that were created on the 6th day. Now, in order for those male and female to physically incarnate, they had to come through the physically incarnated humans that were made on the 8th day, that were made from the dust of the ground. These, again, the only way for the spiritual beings to incarnate was to come through the physical beings. So this is why Adam and Eve are the mother of all, or Yatsad and Kava, okay? The mother and the father of all. Because what did Jesus say? No one can come except through the portal. You have to be born again. So we were born on the 6th day, and then we were born again on the 8th day. These are two distinct sets of groups. Now, they're equal, but they're distinct. And because they have been in our energy so long, these different entities believe they are the natural branches. They are the ones that command the Erkadeshi and the Derkadeshi. And I'm going to talk about the Erkadeshi and the Derkadeshi. They're the ones that believe they command them. And this is why you see these people out here who have no actual connection to the land, commanding the land to operate in a way that is unnatural to it. They're unable to read the energy from the land because they believe they are better than the land, because they were made from the land. They're better than the land because the land can't walk, can't talk, can't speak, can't create cultures, in their opinion, which is absolutely not true, because we know that all of those Erkadeshi and all of those Derkadeshi represent celestial places, celestial elements. This is not just a physical realm. Like I have been saying, this realm is not just what we can see. What we can't see incarnates through this realm. That's how the whole entire system works. And so these people have been LARPing in our energy, the 6-day humans energy, so long, they believe that they are us, and they are not. And so we are asking, now that we've feasted, right, and shown that we honor the celebrations that were set up from the time of the garden, because this schedule is a schedule that has existed for time immemorial. And when you get on this schedule, you're basically guaranteed to be successful because it is the schedule. But what they did was they confused everything, so people think that they're on the right schedule, but they're not. One thing I found out about myself is that I always wanted to be multilingual, right? Like I took French and I tried to learn Spanish, and I just could not like put it together. But I actually am multilingual. I speak multiple languages of divination. I could do regular astrology and understand that. I can look at Babylonian astrology and understand that. We're looking at the Tzolk'in. We're looking at the Hebrew calendar. I could do all of that. And that is multiple languages. I never looked at it that way, but that was revealed to me. It's like you are multilingual, but you're multilingual in divination practices. And so that is something that needs to be understood, because our people can hold multiple contradicting ideas at one time. And what do I mean by that? So in the Hebrew calendar, right, we follow the Hebrew calendar over here. The days of the week start on Friday. Friday is the first day of the week. So today is not the Sabbath, it's the second day of the week. The Sabbath is on Thursday, okay? But that's because we used the Erkadeshi, the Watchers' way of calculating time. That's how we figured out what day to start the cycle. It's not a day on the calendar. It's not the sun is, there's equal days and nights. It's not that. It's literally when the sun moves. Like when the literal sun moves its position and switches out with the other sun, then that's when we are actually starting our new year. And it happens to align with when the sun hits 1 degree of Aries, not 0. So that's another system, that it would be the Babylonian astrology system where it comes into play. So we've already been speaking these, and then don't even add in the moon phases. That's another whole language. That's all by itself. That has almost nothing to do with anything else. So we speak Erkadeshi. We speak Derkadeshi too. I'll talk about that in a little bit. We speak Babylonian astrology. We speak Tzolk'in. We also speak tropical. And we do speak a little bit of Vedic. We do get a little bit into the Vedic here. Not because all of the Tzolk'in basically is tied to these Hindu gods. Which, let's talk about the Erkadeshi and the Derkadeshi while I'm mentioning that. As I'm working on the Tzolk'in language, okay, this is a language. As I'm working on the Tzolk'in language, I'm finding out that all of these days, which are called solar seals, are affiliated with Erkadeshi or Derkadeshi, depending on what it is, and Hindu gods, and mantras and mudras and frequencies and tones. All of it is a universal language. And so just imagine my surprise that these quote unquote Mayans were working with all of these Hindu gods. So I'll say this now, which I already believe, and I'll just add to this. Those Hindu gods originate from this land. And they took them over to the other India because that's where they said our people always moved around. We went over to that other India and we took our God with us when we went. These Hindu gods represent different aspects of the Creator. Now, this is true with all of the religions, right? And all of the different pantheons of God. But the Hindu gods specifically, most of the other pantheons of gods can be tied to Hindu gods. So the Hindu gods are the baseline gods. In my opinion, from my research, I can't find any other explanation of what I'm seeing other than that. So, and it makes sense to me. So that's my, that's how I view it. I'm sorry, we need some more incense in here. So, I can't even. I'm sorry, my incense is, it's going to get a little smoky in here. I need some more. So, that being the case, the difference is, the Erkadeshi and Derkadeshi. All the Erkadeshi and all the Derkadeshi tied to these Hindu gods, okay? I'm just about done with that research. But again, it's not really research I can make a single video about and just explain it to y'all. So that's something that when we do the 260-day cycle reset, that's something that we'll talk about at that time, because there's no way I can actually make it make sense right now. It's just not possible. So I'm not going to try. But I'll talk about different aspects of it as we go along. The Erkadeshi, right? The reason why this is important, because you have to understand the perspective of who is telling the story. This is something that is never discussed, but it's extremely important. When whoever is telling the story of the Erkadeshi and the Derkadeshi clearly believes in the superiority of the spirit realm over the physical realm. Now, I'm an earth-based being. That is very infuriating to me, because the things here on this earth are very important, and they were very carefully made, just like the things in the spirit realm. Again, the day 6 humans and the day 8 humans are equal. They're not unequal. They're equal. They're both humans. Just some were from the light and some were from the land. That's what we're talking about. People who came from the light to command the land, who are given authority and rule over the land, and the ones who came from the land. The roles are vastly different. The ones that incarnated on day 8 are the land. They're from the land. But the ones that incarnated on day 6 are from the light. And so we stand in the very unique position of being both from the light and from the land. Now, we know that our people have the Adam and Eve gene, and all humanity come through our lineage, our bloodline. So these other ones are all grafted in, but they do not have access to the roots of the tree. They've only been grafted in. The Derkadeshi, which they call these evil, malefic spirits, are not malefic. These are the ones who incarnated on day 8. The Erkadeshi were here on day 6 when creation was complete. The Derkadeshi came on day 8. And so to call them evil or negatively polarized is not accurate. They're incarnated. They're incarnated. And it makes no sense to, only if the reason why you would call the Der Kadeshi evil is because you were an elite. Why would I say that? Let's rewind to the story of Daniel. Daniel is one of the names of these Der Kadeshi. So that automatically told me personally that they weren't telling the truth, because Daniel was extremely important. So let's go back to the story of Daniel. I've told the story of Susanna 1,000 times, but we're just going to focus in on the part where Daniel, who was roused by the Holy Spirit, which is a solar flare, roused the Holy Spirit in Daniel, and he cried out, "These guys are wicked. Y'all have no sense? You're going to execute an otherwise totally upstanding woman because of what these men say? Nobody's going to do an investigation?" Now, if you are the priest who end up executed as a result of what Daniel said, would you not believe that Daniel and the Der Kadeshi element for Daniel is a comet? Would you not believe that Daniel destroyed your whole world? Because that's what happened. Daniel, the comet, came into these high priests and the judges' world and literally killed everybody in their world because it killed them. So if you're telling the story of comets, would you not say that they're destructive? Would you not say that a comet came and wiped everything out? So that you would be afraid of these kind of people who carry this energy. Now, everyone carries this energy. The Er Kadeshi or the Der Kadeshi, various combinations of the energy. I'm not ready to put those out as readings because I want to make charts, so that you can do it yourself and you don't have to get it done by me. And I don't have that yet. But everyone carries Er Kadeshi and Der Kadeshi energy. Some people don't carry Der Kadeshi energy, actually, but almost everybody carries Er Kadeshi and Der Kadeshi energy. I happen to carry more Der Kadeshi energy than I do Er Kadeshi. And so this is why I have the unique ability to go up to these quote-unquote demons and call them out, like the federal government, like the presidency, like the politics, because I am in the energy that they specifically are using to maintain their power. And I don't like the energy being misused. So when a righteous person enters the energy in Der Kadeshi or in Er Kadeshi energy, they call out the people who are in this other energy. They call them out. And so there's nothing that can be done about that. You're not going to stop me from being a righteous person. So you're not going to stop me from calling out these people who are using our energy falsely. And that is where all the hate comes from, because I have that Der Kadeshi energy. I know for a fact it's a blessing and not a curse. And they have turned it into a curse. Just like Lilith. Lilith is my goddess. So what was one of the first things we did? We gave her a happy ending because the way they told her story didn't make any sense. That was the beginning of reclaiming this energy. Because I didn't know nothing. I had read the book of Remembrance of Melchizedek. So I was very familiar with the Er Kadeshi. But I wasn't familiar with the Der Kadeshi, and I haven't gotten into it. But that's what they're using. So because they incarnated on day 8 along with these day 8 humans. And so they feel like entitled to abuse them. Because these people are made in, they're made in Jehovah's image. Because on day 6, when the day 6 humans were created, that was enough. We didn't need day 8 humans. But Jehovah, evil Jesus, Zeus, wanted someone to worship him. So he of his own incarnated self, created these day 8 humans. He created Adam. He created Eve. But he only did so because he was authorized by the creator of all things to create these physically incarnated humans. He assigned that task to Jehovah. He assigned that task to him, to evil Jesus, the incarnated Jesus, right? He assigned that task to him. And so as a result of assigning that task to him to create the incarnated souls out of the earth, out of the dust of the earth, he, being a fallen, a quote unquote incarnated soul, literally put that in the incarnated souls that came on day 8. So if you came on day 6, right, you did not have, or you do not have the capacity of naturally, you do not naturally have the capacity of this kind of wickedness. It's not natural. It's either taught to you or whatever, but it's not natural to you. But these entities that came on day 8, these day 8 humans, because they were physically created, like they were physically manifested by this entity that was incarnated onto this planet, they have the capacity for that darkness, where the day 6 humans don't. Now, this is the whole thing about Jesus coming and dying on the cross and all this stuff, so that these people don't have to worship these gods who demand blood. Because what did, that is the curse that Jehovah, Zeus, evil Jesus put on Eve, that she would bleed. He put that curse on her. And so, and that Adam would have to till the ground for food. Even though that's not, God, the creator, didn't allow that curse to really take root. But again, we have to retell all of these stories. So you have the ones who are not from the light, the ones who are not the day 6 humans, they don't have a soul that was created in male and female on day 6. The ones that came in on day 8, they have the capacity for darkness. They have the capacity for darkness. It's like the new moon, right? They're the new moon energy. And the ones who came on day 6 are the full moon energy. And so because they have that capacity, they felt like they could control their brothers and sisters, which are the Der Kadeshi, that were all incarnated at the same time as the creations, the day 8 humans. Because they're like siblings. But that's not who's supposed to control them. The ones who are supposed to control the Der Kadeshi are the day 6 humans who came in through the light. And you can tell, so what I've done with the Air Kadeshi, just briefly, the Air Kadeshi and the Der Kadeshi list, I've put them all together, and all of the Air Kadeshi have a Der Kadeshi counterpart. And part of the Zolkin is that curse that Jehovah put on Adam, was that he had to till the land. Well, that tilling the land, quote unquote, was the creation of the 260-day Zolkin cycle. That was the creation of that cycle. And so every day on that cycle, like, it has a mantra, but also has a plant. And it has a Der Kadeshi / Air Kadeshi / whatever that control it. That's all in the Zolkin cycle. That was the curse that he put on him. Mind you, that's the Jubilee cycle. That is what Lilith was trying to teach Adam, but he couldn't quite grasp it. So Jehovah put it on him and said it was a curse, right? But that he would be bound to it, right? But it really was a blessing. So again, I would say that Jesus' plan didn't go quite correctly when he came down and did his incarnation as the Christ. Lilith's plan, however, freeing humanity from slavery worked like a charm, because she, as the light, as the sun, enraged Jehovah so much by what? Incarnating as a serpent and telling Eve, who would take of the knowledge, and forcing and Eve is the one who forced Adam to take it. So Lilith's plan worked like a charm. She incarnated with the day 6 humans, day 6 humanity of the light. That's where she came in. She irritated Jehovah so much because Jehovah didn't want to pick the land. He didn't want to harvest the land. So she irritated Jehovah so much that he created Adam. Then he was like, oh, man shouldn't be alone, because I'm not going to be with this dumb mofo all day and all night. Let's create him a partner. So then he created Eve. And then Lilith saw how Jehovah was abusing Adam and Eve, not even allowing them to wear clothes, not even telling them, hey, you guys need to put on some clothes, so he could what? Gawk at them. Again, go back to the story of Susanna. Those 2 priests were gawking at Susanna. They watched her secretly for weeks like creeps, okay? That's their God, Jehovah, okay? He's a creep. And so what did Lilith do? She incarnated as the serpent. She said to Eve, hey, if you eat this tree, you'll gain knowledge. And Eve was like, oh yeah, okay, I want some knowledge. Something doesn't feel right. Like, I feel like something's weird, right? Because Jehovah wasn't walking around naked. He had clothes. She could see that, but they didn't have clothes. So, as a result, you have Eve giving to the knowledge to Adam, who Lilith could not convince Adam to separate from his wickedness, from Jehovah. He couldn't separate Adam from Jehovah, but Eve could, and she did. And what did Jehovah do? He said, you guys got to get the hell out of here, because I want slaves, okay? And since you're not going to be my slaves, you need to go. You're banished from the garden. He banished them. And so what happened? The Creator saw the mess that was going on and was like, okay, what you're not about to do is destroy my planet that I created for my pleasure. You're not going to destroy my pleasure planet. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give them some clothes. We're going to make sure they have what they need. And then we're going to send them out. That's why it was 30 days between the time of the situation in the garden and the time that they got put out. It was 30 days. And we have some books. We're going through that story now. And what I'm saying is it lines up directly with that. So, explain from this position. Now we're in today's time. Okay, so I've gone through all of that. Let's talk about the fast in a little more detail. Again, this is a fast for favor. So because these people have been LARPing in our energy, controlling the Der Kadeshi, telling them what to do, messing everything up, destroying the Er Kadeshi in the process. Because again, Jehovah hates Lilith. Jehovah hates Jesus. Why? Jesus and Lilith are the ones who have been helping humanity reach their divinity. And Jehovah doesn't want humanity to reach their divinity. Jehovah does not want to be equal with humanity. Now, mind you, Jehovah was a day 6 creation too, who incarnated in a physical entity. So he was a day 6 creation too, but he hates humanity. He don't want humanity to be great. He wanted them to be slaves, just like they did on all these other planets where they have all these slaves. He wanted humanity to be enslaved. And so, because those people are not the natural branches, they've basically taken over the whole thing. They've cut off all the natural branches. Like, They didn't just, like, they separated us from our creator, our creation story, our names, our history, our bloodline, our lineage. They separated us. But it says in Romans that the creator can graft us back in. So this is what we're asking for. We're asking the creator of all things to graft us back into the roots of the tree. The natural branches grafted back into its original tree. That's what we're asking for. That's what this fast is about. It's about, if I have found favor in your sight, help me. If I have done what is righteous, find favor in my heart. That's the literal scripture. If you ordered the bundle, I have the actual scripture on there. But again, go back and look at my Ruth and Naomi fast video for the whole scripture, and I go through the whole thing, so I don't want to rehash that. So in this particular fast, the point of this video, this particular fast, we are asking the creator to separate us from the parasites. Now, who are the parasites? Now, this is everything that we do is in a spiritual, and it's also in the physical. We have parasites within us, right? So we're going to be doing a parasite cleanse for this fast. What I said, again, the normal things that we always do: eat when the sun is up, right? Eat with the circadian clock. If you haven't gotten your protein up to 100 grams a day, please get up to 100 grams a day of protein. So if you're going to fast, that should be part of your fast. You need 100 grams of protein a day. Okay. And the last thing that we're going to add this time is the parasite cleanse. So there's two ones that you can do. Both of them are very inexpensive. You can take 2 tablespoons of raw pumpkin seeds and eat that every day for 30 days. What that does to your system is it kills all the parasites that are already in your system. And it also kills all of the eggs. So if you do it every day for 30 days, just 2 tablespoons of raw pumpkin seeds every day for 30 days, you will, you'll get rid of the parasites in your body. You can also take, if you're interested in this, oil of oregano. Now, oil of oregano is strong, so I can't take that every day. Pumpkin seeds have more protein in them, so I need that because I'm trying to make sure I get 100 grams of protein a day. So, or whatever parasite cleanse you want to use. That's just what I'm suggesting, that this fast be dedicated to removing internal parasites. Okay, we want to do a parasite cleanse. What are we trying to do in the physical realm? We need to remove these parasites because eventually we have to get to the gatekeepers. But we can't get to the gatekeepers until we remove the parasites. The image that came to mind that a lot of people have been referring to in the spiritual community this week is barnacles. Okay. I saw a video with a turtle and it had barnacles in its mouth. And what the barnacles do, they're parasites. And where there's salt water and there's no motion and no movement, they grasp on. So for the turtle swims with his mouth kind of open. So the barnacles just grabbed onto the inside of his mouth. And basically, they have to be removed with force. They have to be removed with force. Parasites do. And so, the parasitic class that we see in this world are private equity, which I'm going to call parasitic equity. These different, I saw a video. Now, one of the sisters had been telling me for months about how bad parasitic equity is. And I don't want to trigger the algorithm, which is why I'll say it like that. She was telling me how when these companies, these entities come in, these equity investors, when they come into a company and do a takeover, it's always brutal. And it's always, she described it this way. Before a parasitic entity took over a company she was working for, they were given their benefits in advance. Like a mom and pop shop will give you your benefits in advance. What does that mean? Like, okay, you get 2 weeks of vacation, you get this, you get that. They give you your benefits in advance. Parasitic equity, they portion out your benefits, meaning you don't get a benefit until you work an hour. So for every 8 hours you work, you might get an hour of vacation. So you only get the vacation if you work. That's parasitic equity. What we've seen these companies do, look at Chipotle, okay? I was reading about how Chipotle was taken over by this parasitic equity group. And first of all, Chipotle is awful. Like, nobody goes to Chipotle, all right? They're trying to like do all this stuff to get people to go in there. Every time I go to Chipotle, I regret it. Every single time. So I will go to a mom and pop shop. And what happened with Chipotle is their earnings slumped. So these parasitic equity investors, they are looking for numbers. Everything is a numbers game. And I did some research on them, and I might do a video about this. But they don't care about the product, the service, none of that. All they care about is numbers. And so you turn an experience you turn something that's supposed to be an experience into a number. And that's what they've done with Chipotle. They're just trying to remember like all the videos about how they, like the bowls weren't big enough. They weren't given big enough scoops and all of this stuff. That's the parasitic equity. And they had to do so much advertising to overcome this weird thing they were telling people to do. Meanwhile, if I go to a home-owned Mexican shop, the portions are ginormous. I can't, like my favorite Mexican shop, I can't even eat a whole plate there. I always go there and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to eat all my food. I never do. I've never, ever. I always have leftovers. These are big, giant tacos, big, giant portions of beans and rice because they're not run by parasitic equity. So what I'm saying, it got super dark in here. That's crazy. So what I'm suggesting is that we refrain from putting our energy into parasitic equity organizations during this fast. We fast from parasitic equity. So instead of going to a conglomerate, go to a mom and pop. Check the organizations that you normally shop with. Like I spend a lot of time at Wawa, so I'm going to see if they're parasitic equity or not. I might give Wawa up for the fast. We have to just like the pumpkin seeds or the oil of oregano or whatever parasite cleanse you do is going to rip the parasites out of your body. We need to rip the energy out of this parasitic entity. And so all the people who are fasting, who are going to call their fast, who are demanding boycotts and all this stuff, right now, we are harvesting and harnessing their energy, calling their energy in to support this boycott of parasitic equity. And I live in a place where we have a lot of places that are not conglomerates, and so it's not going to be that difficult for me. So if it's going to be difficult for you, of course, do your research now so that you can be prepared for that. Don't look into it, figure out how you can physically do this. And so if you can't do no parasitic equity, right, because it's just not possible, pick one. Do what makes sense for you, but we want to make a statement in the spirit realm that this parasitic equity is unacceptable. What we're going to harvest it and harness this energy to do is to create our own fund. The result of this, I would like to see is our own, I'm calling it the Air Kadeshi Fund. And that is going to be angel investing, where we can go out as a group, as a collective, and angel invest in these different organizations. So that's the reason why I'm asking people to participate in this fast, is so that we can create our own angel investing fund, our Erica Deshi fund, where we can fund enterprises, businesses that we want to see. So if there's farms we want to see people grow stuff for us, we can invest in farmland. If and not for us to be doing it, but for the person to get the stuff that they need, just look into angel investing. Like, we can invest in the things that we need within our community. We can put money to it because we don't need as much money to do things as the day 8 humans, because the day 8 humans are not working with the Erica Deshi. That's why I'm calling it the Erica Deshi Fund. This is the fund, the actual physical manifestation of the Erica Deshi in our financial world. This does not exist. There's angel investors, right? But that's not the same as what I'm talking about. I'm talking about harvesting the full energy of the Erica Deshi and directing it into our monetary system through a fund that we can use to fund day 6 or day 8 humans who are committed to doing the things that we need. So for example, I've been talking about how the land is not producing for them, right? However, if you're a private farmer and you have a little farm and you're going to farmers market and stuff, you don't notice a difference. The land produces for you. Why? Because you're respectful of the land. But these big conglomerates, the land is not producing for them. And they're lying about that. So if you don't know where your local farmer market is, and this is not fear mongering, I'm just telling you, the land is not producing for them. It's not, and it will stop producing for them because they're parasites. We have to remove the parasites from our land. Okay? We have to remove the parasites from our land, and therefore we have to stop engaging with parasitic equity. We just have to. And so the only way, the best way, the easiest way to do that is to devote our energy into creating what we want. See, everybody is doing fasting. What physical thing are they trying to produce? I've been saying, how can you take back the kingdom when you don't know how to run one? What does a kingdom involve? What does it pertain? We don't want to be like Jezebel, who saw Namor's field and like killed him for it. We don't need that. We can say, hey, Namor, while you're growing that stuff for you, we want you to produce X, Y, and Z for us. Here's the money. We'll support your expansion so that you can produce more, so that some people don't want to live in the country, right? They want to live in the city. Some people don't want to live in the middle of nowhere. They want to live around other people. They want to be they don't want to be in a solitary state. So why are certain people trying to force everybody into the woods, into the mountains, into the desert? That's not necessary. All we need is a network. And that's what I'm talking about, a network. Another thing that our Erica Deshi Fund, actually probably what we're going to start with, is we're going to physically in all of the zip code regions put a facility that's going to be a hub in all of the zip code areas. So there's 9 zip code areas. I'm talking about 9 facilities. That's going to be meeting facilities, vacations, stuff like that, where we can go and visit, because everybody has a direction attributed to them, a direction and a season, and that correlates with a physical location. So if you can, you connect with the land with your energy that belongs to you, go to a certain place at a certain time, and literally be in that energy, that is going to reconnect you to the land. That's something else that's in this Zolkin. Like, this Zolkin is a language all unto itself. And so we are going to dive into that. So we're going to have clubhouses in the different zip code zones, so that if you need to be in the north on, for winter, you can go to the north for winter vacations and stuff like that. And it's going to be part of, our tribal thing. This is all tied into our tribe. This fund is a fund that's going to come through the tribe. These facilities are going to come through the tribe. If we have someone who's facing an emergency, they need to evacuate, whatever, they're going to be strategically located. I've been thinking about this for a long time. And so this is what I am trying to create from this fast. This is what I am calling in as a result of this fast. Now, we have not done this before. I have never had a explicit target. And if there were targets that were kind of, things I was thinking about, I've never said it publicly. This is my first time calling a fast, telling you guys what it is, and then saying what the specific thing we're harvesting the energy to do. Anybody who calls a fast from this point, they need to have those three things. They need to tell you what, they need to tell you why, and they need to tell you the result. Me, I get results. Y'all, I get results. When I seek, I will find. There's no doubt about it. I don't feel uncomfortable making this a public video that people can see. I don't. And so, because either our creator is the one who created all things and can make this thing manifest, or he's not. We're not going to keep playing. We, as the Day 6 humans, have to call out the creator. It's our job to do it, because those Day 8 humans are not connected to the roots. They're not connected to the land. And so, therefore, they can't call out the creator. The creator doesn't even know they exist. In his assessment, they don't exist because they're not connected to the roots. They're not connected to the roots. And so it is our job as Day 6 humans, as the light, children of the light, creation of the light, to call out the creator on these different things. And because we haven't been doing it, no one's been doing it. So just like I say about a lot of stuff, it's not that there's somebody at the wheel that's working against you. No, nobody's at the wheel. Everything is just like being steered all over the place. It's just whoever is LARPing in your personal energy that's saying, hey, I need this to happen. Or even worse, you are commanding or manifesting something, and then somebody else just jumps on it and takes it over. Because you don't know the process of seeing it all the way to the end. So this is the information about the fast from August the 2nd to the Libra equinox. Prepare yourselves accordingly. Shalom, peace and blessings, and we'll see you in the next video.